All right, so it is Sunday, January 25th, 2026, and I'm ready to dive into edits on my book. I just finished writing book 4 of my series earlier today, a couple hours ago. I took a little break, but now now I'm getting antsy, and I just feel like I need to start editing. So I'm going to try to read through the first chapter today and see what I can do. If you don't know who I am, my name is Colton Woods. I'm the creator of Strange Trails, a full cast audio drama in the style of Serial. The first season is available for free on any podcast platform if you'd like to give it a listen. This channel is going to be me working toward making season 2 of the show and creating novelizations of each of the successive seasons so that every season that comes out going forward is going to have a novelization to go with it. I just finished, literally a couple hours ago, writing book 4 of the series, and now I've got about a week that I set aside for myself to just read through it and give it a quick edit, just to make sure it reads through like a book should and doesn't have, grammatical errors or weird misspellings and stuff like that. Because like when you're typing fast, it happens. You miss things. I don't know what I'm actually going to end up recording in this because there's not that much to see when I'm just sitting at the computer. Like, it's just not going to be interesting. I don't know what comments I'll have, if there will be any. I know that episode 1 was the point before I started deciding on a point of view character being chosen for each scene in the story. So I know that episode 1 is probably going to be the one that requires the heaviest editing, at least in this pass, just because I have to kind of add a little bit of point of view stuff throughout it. But as far as I know, most of the other chapters should kind of already be basically set, and I'm just going to treat this more as like a read through with light touches of editing rather than trying to do a deep actual copy edit, line edit type of situation. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. So I'm going to start editing book 4. Let's get to it. So it's later. I gotta call it here for the day. I managed to get through the first 40 pages of episode 1, which is decent. There's still 13 pages left to do. Not bad. My thoughts so far are, honestly, the story is fine. Like, the writing overall is fine. As far as adding perspective to these early scenes, that I did not think that I was really doing that. Turns out I was. It just happened to be kind of jumping between maybe 1 or 2 characters throughout the scene. So it's just really a cleanup operation of making sure that it's just one character that we're getting their viewpoint from. The one issue that I did have was that in the scene I just did, scene 7 out of 10 in this chapter, scene 7, I went through and was like, okay, so it's going to be this character's perspective. So I'm going to go through and I'm just going to delete all these other references to a different character's perspective throughout it. And I'm going through, and by the time I get to the end of the scene, I'm like, I think this scene was written almost completely in that other character's perspective. Like, I kept thinking it was going to flip between them, and it didn't. I had just chosen this other character originally when I wrote it, I guess. I don't... you sort of write in a haze sometimes, so I don't remember all the details of it. But looking back, that whole scene was basically written from this character's perspective, except like the opening line where it was a different one. And that's who I was like, oh, this is the character we're following. And so then I'm just having to like flip everything over into this other perspective the entire time through. And I got to the end and was like, I don't even think this is better. And I don't think it was necessary because I already had everything over here anyway. So I ended up just deleting that whole scene and copying it from like my draft 1 file and pasting it back in and just starting from scratch on the scene, which is why I was not able to finish actually reading the chapter today, because I had to go back through and reformat it to get it, where it needed to be, and then read through expecting to be this original character that I apparently wrote it as, so that the perspective makes sense in it. And ultimately, I think it came out pretty well. So I've got a couple scenes left in that chapter to do tomorrow, and then I can maybe just start with chapter 2. This is going to take a lot longer than I expected it to. I did not think it was going to take this long to just read through the chapter and make a couple small changes, because ultimately the changes that I'm making are actually pretty small. It's just actually taking a while to read it, because turns out 130,000 words is a pretty long book. So trying to get that done in 1 week is a tighter deadline than I thought it was. I'll say that. I thought that I could just set aside, basically on the days that I'm working, just do 1 chapter each day. And on the days that I'm not working, do a couple extra chapters to make up the difference, so that by Saturday, I'll have read through all 10 chapters, which fine. Now I'm looking at it though, I couldn't get through 1 chapter today, and it took almost 3 hours. So that makes me a little bit nervous about the timing, because I don't always have 3 hours on the days that I'm working. So we'll see how that plays out. I only have 1 more day off this week, which is Wednesday, so I'm going to have to read through a lot that day to be able to stay on track with finishing this by Saturday. It's going to be a busy week for me. A lot of reading. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow to continue reading more of Book 4. Okay, welcome to Monday, January 26th, or I guess in your case, welcome back, since for you it will have already passed, but for me, it's now. So last night, I wasn't able to finish reading chapter 1, which is fine, because today on my lunch break, I did finish reading it, which means that tonight I can start chapter 2, which is a full day ahead of where I was meant to be on the schedule for reading and editing this book. So that will make things a lot easier later on in the week when I have very little time. So my phone is about to die, so I'm not going to record myself reading. You're going to have to trust me on this. I am going to read, okay? Just imagine a lot of like, a sensible chuckle. Not too much, though. It's not that funny. Maybe a little typing, something like that. You know? Yeah, so I'm going to dive into it before my phone dies on me and I lose this entire clip. And I will see you probably tomorrow. I assume that reading this is going to take me right up to the time that I got to go to sleep. So I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll update then. Okay, so it is Tuesday, January 27th. We're on day 3 of reading through Book 4 of Strange Trails. And yesterday I managed to read through all of chapter 2 because it was a little bit shorter than chapter 1, and I didn't have to completely redo the point of view in a scene by accidentally choosing the wrong perspective that was already kind of in there. But I will say, I've kind of just been enjoying it. Like, I was reading it, and to me, it reads like a book. It has the information that I would be looking for as a reader. There is interiority for the prospective characters' heads. The story is engaging. Like, I don't know if I know I am biased, but I don't know if I'm being like too lenient, because like you could be biased and still be harsh on yourself, and you can still be like reading critically and stuff. And I don't know, maybe I'm not doing that, but it feels like it's coming, like it has come together nicely. And I have to assume that I would be improving on my writing skills. This is the 7th book I've written. So like presumably somewhere along the line, I've actually picked something up, whether consciously or not. So, maybe it is my best written book so far, and I can go back at the other books and, get them up to this level. Maybe the other books are at the same level. Maybe they're better in other ways. And because I haven't read them recently, I don't remember all the details of them, but it is just interesting to go into this thinking, okay, I have to find the major errors, anything that's like obnoxious, big spelling errors, grammatical errors, but also just, oh, actually that, I'm getting snagged on this. This doesn't click for me. And so far there hasn't really been anything that doesn't click for me. It all sort of seems to work, which is good news, but does make me a little bit nervous and does make me think I need a second opinion because like I can't trust my own perspective on this when I'm the only one that's read it. So all that to say, I'm going to continue reading. I'm going to, keep going and see how I feel about the rest of the book. And tonight, I will do 2 chapters tonight, chapter 3 and chapter 4. No promises, but that's the plan. I'm cozy. I'm comfy. It's like 5 degrees outside right now. So I'm ready to curl up and read a good book, aka Strange Trails Book 4, I hope. Okay, Wednesday, January 28th, next day. Last night I did manage to read 2 chapters of Book 4, and I am still enjoying it. I'm still liking it. It reads like a book to me. And that's, I don't know. I've gone back and forth. I'm like, I think I'm just too biased because there's not much that I'm changing. I know I'm not going into this trying to make like huge sweeping changes anyway, because again, this is just a cursory edit. And somewhere down the road, I would do like deep edits trying to like really nail interiority and any sort of scene description or whatever. But as I read it, I just feel like I don't necessarily need more interiority or more scene description. Like, it is easy to follow who the point of view character is in each scene. I apparently did a decent job at that, considering I hadn't actively done that before this book. And I think that I think I'm doing a good job. So that's where we're at. Like, there was a scene in one of the chapters yesterday where 2 characters are coming across this other thing, and I was like, oh my God, wait, hang on. So this thing is not revealed to have some other function until way, way, way later in the season. But wouldn't it be interesting if they tried to interact with it in a way that would reveal that thing if they did interact with it? But then they get stopped, like if one of the characters tries to interact with it and gets stopped, and then as an audience member, once you've read through the whole book, you're like, oh my God, wait, if they had just done something here, they would have answered all these questions so early on in the story. I thought that was so interesting, and I was going to add that to the thing, and I keep reading, and it's there. It's in there. I already put that in the scene. So like, even the things where I'm like, okay, what can I add to this to, like, just heighten it a little bit, just give a little bit more. And those ideas are already incorporated apparently. And I don't, so, I mean, good stuff all around, honestly. I feel like this is just going to turn into me like glazing myself, but like, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. So I don't know that I will feel the same way when I read book 1 next week, like starting next week, because that might be a different situation, because that book was written under kind of different circumstances. That was the first book that I wrote following taking the Strange Trails scripts and turning it into a novel. And I basically just followed the exact layout of the script, like as in anytime there was a studio segment in the script, I made it a studio segment in the book. And I don't think that's going to hold up as well. Whereas this one is written almost exclusively as a book. Like I don't even have the framing device of the studio segments in this book at all. I sort of feel like by the time we're in book 4, we don't really need to constantly be cutting away to characters recording their, their little studio segments and stuff. But yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to try, today's my day off. I'm going to try to do 3 chapters today. That's a lot of reading. That is probably 5 or 6 hours of reading today. That's a lot on my eyes. So I don't know if I will be able to do 3, but if I can do 3, then that means Thursday, Friday, Saturday of 8, 9, and 10? Yeah, of 1 chapter a day for the rest of the week, if I can do 3 today. So that's the goal. And now we just got to hit it. All right, time to read. Hola. So it's a new day, as you can probably guess, but it's not the day you think it is. It is Friday, January 30th, and I did not record anything yesterday, and I don't think I've recorded anything since Wednesday? What was it? It was a while ago. On Wednesday, I got all the way through chapter 8. I pushed myself, because that's all I ever do, and I got through chapter 8, and then yesterday, I read chapter 9. Today, that means we get to at least start the finale. I don't know if I'll be able to read the whole thing. It is the longest chapter in the entire season, so I might not have time to finish the finale today, but I definitely am going to start it, and that means I'm going to be finishing this, potentially. If I were to wrap it all up today, I could potentially finish this whole project one day early, which doesn't sound all that impressive, But you have to keep in mind, I started out a month and a half late. So to make up that much time, to be one day early now, that's crazy because that was not in the cards when I started this whole thing. So, and I haven't been giving as many updates with the editing stuff as uh, obviously as I used to with the writing stuff, but I just don't have that much to say. Like ultimately I'm reading it and it's decent. Like I'm enjoying it. I'm liking it. I think that there's a lot of interiority with character stuff that I forgot that I put in, like point of view things that like really do kind of help bring the story together in a way that it will be maybe a little bit more in depth in the book than it would be in the podcast. And I think that's great because that means that the two experiences will have their, their benefits that will kind of encourage people to go for both, ideally, because I'm doing a lot of work here and there's obviously a lot to come, but it'll be nice to know that all of that has come together and created something that is, similar, but also unique, compared to the podcast, because the podcast is going to have the actors playing the characters and you're going to get to hear it. Like there's just going to be it's very sensory rich experience. And the novel, I was nervous that the novels might not quite meet that same level. And I don't know. I think so far it does feel like, at least for book 4, I'm close enough to the mark. I'll say that. Also today, really exciting news. I got my copy of Script Notes, the Script Notes book. This is from John August and Craig Mason. They have a podcast called the same thing, Script Notes, and I've been listening to them for literally over a decade at this point. And so I'm so excited that they have a book out. It's going to be a lot of stuff, I'm sure, that they've just covered on their podcast, things I've literally already heard, but it's always fun to rehash that, go over like the screenwriting basics, the storytelling basics, stuff like that. And hopefully that will help when I'm moving into the planning for season 6 coming up. And also, I just want to support them. I like them both. And I think that they have offered a lot of great insight over the years for free. So this is my way of doing that. So yeah, I've got about 3 hours to read tonight before I have to go to bed. So let's see if I can get through the rest of the book. That would be awesome if I could. Okay, so 2 hours later, it only took 2 hours to read that final chapter, which is great. I am officially done reading the first draft of book 4, and I loved it. I loved it. So I honestly, well, first of all, the word count actually rose quite a bit. Not quite a bit, but the word count actually rose up to 131,345 words. So I added 1,345 words throughout this like read through, which I guess on one hand sounds like a lot of words to add, but also given the total word count, it really isn't that many words to add. So I don't know. I don't know where it actually falls like objectively, but it feels like a lot got added. But I also think that I will need to add more. The thing that I noticed, and it came up mostly in these final couple chapters where there were a lot of ensemble scenes, is the point of view is kind of difficult to determine at certain points in these, especially the longer scenes that are ensemble. Like a shorter ensemble scene is fine because we hit that same character like repeatedly enough throughout the scene that you can kind of keep in mind whose head we're seeing. But these long scenes, 30-page scenes, etc., you do sort of lose track of who the point of view character is, and it becomes sort of just like an omniscient, like a third person omniscient scene, which I don't know, like it's not terrible, but it is like we're not really getting any sort of character's direct perspective all that often throughout it. And I think that that's something that could probably be beefed up a little bit to add a little bit more personality to those scenes if we're going to be doing a point of view version of this, which that's what we're aiming for right now. So yeah, that's something, again, this will be a later edit. Like this was just a read through to make sure that I catch any basic grammatical things and, can add like any sort of, very simple like phrases to make things more clear, like a clarity pass basically. So I don't anticipate touching that again until down the road, a couple of years from now. But, it's in a decent spot. Like I would give it a solid, like, I don't know, B plus. Like I wouldn't come away from it being like that was not a good book. I would come away from it being like, okay, something's there. I wish that they had maybe added a little bit more in certain places. And that's my like the most unbiased I can be about it is like I feel like that some interiority point of view stuff is the thing that really should get added there. And that's doable. That's addable. So overall, I think we're in a good spot, which is why I'm saying that I loved it, because that's fixable. That's a fixable issue. That's pretty easily fixable. I just need to, go in and really hone the point of view. How hard can it be? He says, never having done it before. I mean, that's the end of the edit. That's it. I finished it a day early. That's amazing. First of all, okay. Nice job, Colty. But I don't really have any other thoughts other than like that one like sort of thing. Overall, I think that I told a compelling story, and I, wanted to continue reading as I was reading. It would have been nice to not be like forced into like such a tight timeline to try to get it done, because I give myself such short deadlines. But I think that being able to get it read and hold it all in my head for the first time in a while and see the whole story is very helpful. And I think that it lands personally. I think it does. So that's a wrap on book 4. And in the next video, we will be going all the way back to season 1, reading through book 1 to do some deep edits there. Now, I don't know how much video work I'm going to be able to get out of that, because I did notice there wasn't much to film. Like, it's one thing to film me typing where you can literally see me typing. It's not particularly interesting to watch me sitting on my bed, scrolling on my iPad, and like once in a while typing in one extra word. Like that's just not something that's like going to do anything for anybody. So I don't know what I will be able to record. So it might be a lot of talking head type stuff for this, but we'll see. Just a heads up, that's where we're at, and that's coming next. So I'll see you in the next video, and I am gonna relax. I have 45 minutes till I have to go to bed. So I have 45 minutes and 1 day of freedom. Woo!